Hey digital world, welcome back. It is Spliced In Later time with your Spliced In Later. Spliced in. Whoop, hold on. Went on a bit of a... My brain froze. Who am I again? What show is this? Let me look at my notes. That's right. It's Spliced In Later with your host, Jordan. Coming at you today, Tuesday, a couple of days after the Academy Awards. Big presentation came out a couple of days ago. And as promised, I am here to give you any knee-jerk reactions that I have, any happy surprises, any sad surprises, any grievances, the whole shebang. I've been looking forward to the Academy Awards. I look forward to the Academy Awards every year. I very wish that Australia's time zone was not as different to America, because I would love to watch it. Most days I have to check the updates at work, which again was what I had to do this year, checking the websites, refreshing, seeing what had come up, what had lost, checking the news bites to see if any crazy, spectacular things had happened at the awards that had shocked everybody. It's not the same experience as watching it, and one day I hope that I will get to experience that properly. But until then, I had fun. I had a friend that I was sending the updates to when I found out the results, and they would reply and tell me whether they were happy or not, and in the most part, we were both expecting to be angry and annoyed. And I'm pleased to come at you today to say that I'm not angry or annoyed. I am disappointed in certain areas, but in the whole, it was a rather enjoyable ceremony with some great results. One specifically fantastic result, which I'm going to get to later on in this episode. So what points am I going to discuss with you today about the Academy Awards? Well, before I begin, I would just like to let everybody know that I did it. I went out and I watched every movie that was nominated for Best Picture. I did not go out and watch every movie that had a nomination for any sort of category in the Academy Awards because I'm not made of money and I don't have the time to see everything. So I didn't see some of the movies which had actors nominated for Best Actor or Actress. Unfortunately, Judy was an example of that. But for those movies that were nominated for Best Picture, and I went out to the cinema, in some lucky cases, I just turned on my Netflix and I took in every single movie. And I'm going to say that every single one of those movies I thoroughly enjoyed. There was not a single movie which I thought was undeserving of the nomination for the Academy Awards, which is great. I know if you go back to my previous episode where I reacted to the nominations, I had only seen 2, maybe 3 of the Academy Award films that were nominated. And I made a big thing about going on about how all the movies were the same and there was nothing surprising. And I'm still standing by those thoughts and sentiments. However, I will admit that all the films that were nominated were outstanding in very different ways. So maybe I'm just a little sulky because a stupid superhero movie or a silly comedy movie or anything that's considered lowbrow or mundane by the Academy didn't get that nomination. And I will say I'm still mad about some of that stuff. But on the whole, whereas in a couple examples of Academy Awards, you've had some films where you could say probably doesn't deserve to be nominated for Best Picture and even win. In this case, I would not have been upset if any of these films had won. There were just certainly films that I wanted to win more than others. I still stand by my earlier belief that 1917 was my favorite of the bunch. That's a completely biased opinion. If I were to rank the movies to you, of the movies that I wanted least to win and one movies I wanted most to win, 1917 would be at the top. However, using an educated brain, looking at it, analyzing the results, and thinking with a logical brain, I will admit that there were movies that probably deserved to win it more than 1917. I think 1917 should have won Best Director. That did not win. That's a bit disappointing, but we'll move past that. Certainly films like Parasite and Little Women were very good for very different reasons, and I believed in the long run that they probably deserved to win Best Picture more than 1917. Other films which made my top 10 movies of 2019, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Joker, actually shifted down my list of movies that I would have preferred to win. Not because they're bad, not at all, but because looking at the different things these films had to offer, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was a little of the same, which I argued tremendously about in my last Academy Awards episode, that we're looking for something different. In terms with Joker, Joker deserved to win Best Actor, probably didn't deserve to win Best Film. So, let's look at the results and events that happened at the Academy Awards. I'm going to pick my favorite things I want to talk about, and I'm going to make it as brief as possible on each one. because I don't want to drag this out too much, you've either heard the results or you saw the Academy Awards. You know what I'm going to talk about. It's just whether you care about my opinion. And I hope you do. I hope that's why you're listening. If you're listening and you don't want to hear my opinion, that's unfortunate. I think you probably have better things to do with your time. That said, please don't leave. I love when you listen to me. Please. I love the listens. I love the subscribes. I love you all. Please. Alright, moving on. First thing I want to get past everyone is not even a result. I want to talk about the surprise performance by Eminem of Lose Yourself, which was the Academy Award winning song for the film 8 Mile, way back in 2003. His performance was a surprise. It was kept on the down low. Nobody knew about it. Certainly no one in the Academy Awards audience knew about it. And overall, his performance was great. I love the song. I think it's great. He gave a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and it's always fun with the Academy Award cameras when they cut to people reacting in the audience, and depending on if you've cut at the exact right time, you either get somebody who's really enjoying the performance, or you get someone who's confused, Idina Menzel, or asleep, Martin Scorsese. I think it was great. The reason that they gave for the performance is where I have the dispute that I want to shoot by you guys today to see if you agree with me or not. Now, the history of this song is that it won back in 2003. Eminem will tell you that he didn't attend the Academy Awards and didn't perform the song because he didn't have the confidence that the song would actually win the award. The Academy will tell you that they said he could perform the song, but he would have to give a filtered version of the song. Basically, don't swear, please, because we got kids watching. He refused to do that, and that's why he didn't show up to do the performance, and then, of course, not there to accept the award. And supposedly, this is an apology from all sides. He's apologizing for not doing the performance and not being there. They're apologizing to him for not letting him perform the song the way it's supposed to be. However, I submit to you that the Academy every day has negative feedback and insults heard their way for good reason, that they are not diverse, that they focus on white men and plain, simple stuff. They don't support the outlandish, the unique, anything like that. We could talk about how the Academy has ignored films and personalities like that for decades. I submit that after the fallout, because there was a tremendous fallout that no women had been nominated for Academy Awards and the whole Little Women scenario, that they decided to put this performance in motion, not as a thank you to Eminem or an apology or a remember the good times sort of thing, but look, the Academy Awards is diverse. Remember this song that won in 2003? It's a rap song. Rap's different. We support rap. We gave rap an award. We are diverse. Celebrate with us, as Eminem jumps out on stage and gives Billie Eilish a heart attack. Now, perhaps that's my negative brain assuming the worst, but it's unexplainable why this performance was put in the lineup when the biggest fault the Academy has right now is that no one is watching and that the Academy Awards run for too long, which is absolutely true. As much as I enjoy watching Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph do a joke together that lasts for about 18 minutes, as much as I enjoy the strange chemistry that has between presenters that's either really good or really bad, as much as I enjoy making fun of the stuff which I think is stupid, like Rebel Wilson and James Corden dressing up as cats, it all adds to a program that is taking far too long to get to the point, which is that people want to see who won these awards. If you want to see who won Best Picture, you have to wait 3.5 hours, and that's shorter than it used to be. I believe it ran for nearly 5 hours way back in the day. I remember it used to go for the whole day when I was at work. I'd like to say I was putting in hard work, but most of the time I was checking the results, and that's a long day of refreshing your screen to get a result to appear. Instead, you refresh the screen and it's musical performance, monologue, comedic joke, montage. So when you're already battling that sort of issue and you're avoiding having a host and you're flying through the results as much as possible and you're keeping the speeches down to a minimum, why are you then putting this performance on? A whole unfiltered version of 8 Miles, Lose Yourself. That's the reason why I think it was on. Have a think. Use your brains. Maybe you agree. Maybe you think I'm full of it. But hey, that's what we're here for. I'm shooting some ideas out for you. Let me know if you agree or disagree, because I'm interested to see what people think of this bizarre performance that came out of left field and still confuses me to this day. In terms of actor results, I was very pleased with the people who won, although again, unsurprising. Very rarely do the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards share the Best Actor and Actress. They did this year. Both Joaquin Phoenix and Renee Zellweger won the same awards for both categories. I really wanted Saoirse Ronan to win for Little Women. Alas, you can't get everything that you want. However, I'm very pleased that Joaquin Phoenix won the award. Despite what people think about Joker and whether it was going to start a riot or whether you think it's the greatest film ever or whether you think it's just a self-entitled pat on your back film, Joaquin Phoenix put everything he had into that role and it really shows. And this is another thing I want to really vent my frustration with that happened today. Joaquin Phoenix made a speech and it was a classic Joaquin Phoenix sort of speech. It was a bit meandering, it was a bit all over the place. He was talking about being a vegan, and then he was talking about something else. But you could tell that he was very touched that he had won that award. There were tears in his eyes. He was very grateful to the Academy. He was humble. He said that he didn't believe he deserved it, and he was thankful to the people for welcoming him back into the Tinseltown world after being supposedly shunned or doing some silly stuff. And then at the end, he thanks his brother, River Phoenix, who of course was tragically killed when he was quite young. And he got a standing ovation from the Academy, which was great. Now, I was listening to the radio this morning, and they were talking about the speech, and all they did was play a brief sound clip of him talking about being a vegan. And they just made fun of him for being strange and peculiar. That infuriates me to no end. This guy put in a long speech. There were lots of things to look at. And you're taking something out of context to ridicule someone who's clearly emotionally vulnerable and is putting their heart and soul on the line and gratitude for this award that they won because they put so much effort into getting it. But instead you want to take that little thing about vegan and just go, isn't he funny? Also, I guess he won an award, he might be good. Frustrates me to no end. Same with Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt used the time on stage to talk about the travesty that was the Donald Trump impeachment, and he made some observations. And of course then people go, Brad Pitt gets political in his speech, uses it to push his agenda. He's just making a joke about something that actually happened, and he has a very good point. But in the long run, these people can say whatever they like because they won an award because they put the effort in to it. Whether you think it's strange that they're talking about odd things, vegans, politics, whatever. Whether they choose to do a handstand on stage, whether they cry, whether they laugh, whether they forget to thank someone or whatever. It's not really our place to look at their speeches, pick out the things we don't like, laugh at them if they slip up, or ridicule them. It's basic tabloid journalism that I hate every day. When I go down the street and I'll see a magazine that says Bindi Irwin and Richard Wilkins are in love, and you go, what? But of course you'd have to open the magazine to see that they're both in love with separate people. But that sort of thing, which is just making up stuff to get you to pay attention to them. I hate it. That's why, with this podcast, I hope that I will never do that. I'll try my best. These are all theories and observations. I will never, ever say that the Eminem thing I'm thinking about is fact. That's just me and my knee-jerk reaction to that performance. I'm not going to go out and say, guys, this is legit. This is why the Academy Award did it. And I'm also not going to go out and go, hey, look, Eminem has grown a beard. Isn't that funny? He used to not have a beard. No. Silly. So in the long run, I'm happy with the results, and I'm happy with the speeches, and I'm happy with Joaquin Phoenix expressing emotion in his award win, because he did win it. He deserves it. Let's move on. Finally, let's talk about the results for the actual films. Things went pretty much expectedly as you would expect, which is a strange sentence. I don't know if that makes any sort of sense. One big shock is The Irishman. The Irishman was nominated for 10 awards, didn't win anything. Now some are going to argue that it's because it was on a streaming service. Some are going to argue that it was too long. Whatever the case may be. I feel bad for Martin Scorsese. It's a shame that it didn't win any awards. However, I also think if he's upset, he can go home and look at the other awards that he has won for all the other movies he's made. It's not like he's missing out on anything. It is a shame. But Martin Scorsese has had his time in the sun. He's broke the mold for filmmaking in so many different ways. Just because he didn't win any awards for The Irishman doesn't mean he's been robbed or anything of the sort. The Irishman, having seen it, is a very good movie. It is very long, I will concur, but it is very gripping, good dialogue, great engagement, good storytelling. So the 3.5 hours doesn't really feel like 3.5 hours. However, I did not finish The Irishman going, that is a unique film that I have not seen before. I finished the film going, that is a Martin Scorsese film. That is just like Casino, Taxi Driver, The Departed, all of those great Martin Scorsese films. And if you're just doing the same thing over and over again, while it's still good, you can't be rewarded every single time. So I would recommend The Irishman. Definitely check it out if you've got a spare 5 days. But it's worth it. It's a good film, for sure. Little Women is still a frustration, unfortunately. It did win Best Costume Design, which it deserves. But having seen Little Women is such an emotional movie. It's been a while since I've gone to a movie and been openly weeping at certain points in the film. All the performances were great, fantastic story, gripping dialogue, but most importantly, great direction, which still infuriates me to this day that Greta Gerwig was not nominated for Best Director. And of course, I've seen reactions to the Academy Awards. I apologize, I think it's Hilda something or another, but a female did win for the original score for Joker. But awarding awards to females in other areas does not make up for dropping the ball in this major big one. Those people deserve to win those awards. Greta Gerwig deserves to be nominated. And it's frustrating to see Little Women across all these different areas. Losing out on the awards is annoying enough, but knowing that in the big stuff, Best Picture, not Best Director, it boggles the mind. So congratulations for the costume design, Little Women, but overall, I do believe you are robbed, and I encourage everybody to see the film so that they can agree with me. Of course, Avengers Endgame, in the visual effects category, lost out to 1917. I mean, there are no words for that one. I don't know if it's because of it being a superhero film or a Marvel film. I don't know if the visual effects parameters to the Academy are different, whether they believe that small, more personal visual effects is more important than the big scale stuff. But Avengers Endgame had a gigantic fight that relied on visual effects to make it believable, and it was believable. It looked sensational. That deserves something. To see these films in the visual effects category get nominated over and over again and then fall out to something small that's certainly using visual effects in a good way, but not to enhance the overall story, whether it's Star Wars, Planet of the Apes, Transformers, whatever. These films, regardless what you think of them, are pushing the visual effects boundary beyond what it's been before. And to see something like Avengers Endgame that's made on CGI and visual effects fall to 1917, which honestly, I'm not exactly sure what were visual effects. Maybe the aeroplane crashing, but overall, that's just my opinion as a Marvel fanboy. But I can move past it. I can move past a lot of my grievances because my final point is the Best Picture winner. Parasite. Who'd have thought? I certainly didn't believe it. I saw Parasite win Best Foreign Film, and then I saw Bong Joon-ho win Best Director. So I knew for certain that Parasite wasn't going to win. And I also thought for certain that Parasite wasn't going to win because it is a foreign film. I thought it was going to 1917. I would have been happy if it had. I thought maybe it might go to Marriage Story in an upset, as you will remember from my previous episode, but no. Parasite won. Deservedly so. It was very exciting to see them all get on stage and accept their Oscars and be so humble about it, for the director to thank Martin Scorsese for inspiring him and Quentin Tarantino, to see the audience freak out when the Academy nearly tried to cut off their speech by closing the curtains. Great stuff. Very happy that Parasite won. It is a great film. I would recommend seeing it. If you can see it in the cinemas, if it's possible, give it a go. However, I have seen it on DVD, so it is probably available to stream somewhere. It's a dark comedy. Requires you to read subtitles. It's very funny, and then when it's serious, it's shocking, and in many ways, it's a little bit of a horror too, which I somehow still enjoyed, even though I have my opinions of horror films. Very great stuff. Bong Joon-ho is a favorite director of mine. He directed Snowpiercer. I love Snowpiercer. If you haven't seen it, it's Revolution on a Train, starring Captain America. That sentence alone should be enough for you to watch the film. I'm very happy that Parasite won. I think it is a step forward for the Academy in this area. It's almost like one step forward, two steps back, but whatever. I hope we can go forward now with this example to be better for future Academy Award winning stuff. However, I don't want the Academy to use this win for Parasite as a justification in the same way of getting Eminem to play Lose Yourself. I don't want them to say, we gave the best picture to that South Korean film 20 years ago, so we are diverse. That can make up for all the men that are getting nominated over the women, all the white people that are getting nominated over other ethnicities, all the foreign films that are getting discluded because they're not English speaking. Hopefully that's not the direction we're going in, so I plead to the Academy, you have done well giving Parasite the award. It was the best of the bunch. It deserved to win. We're all happy it did. Now keep this moving forward. Don't go backwards. We honestly can't go any further backward without being an absolute laughingstock. Natalie Portman's dress alone of all the women who had missed out on Academy Award nominations is pointed enough. Steve Martin and Chris Rock mentioning it in their opening monologue at the show. Don't let it turn into a joke that you're using so people will watch the Academy to get ratings. It's not supposed to be a joke. It's not something we should be poking fun at. It's something we need to realize is a serious issue and correct it moving forward. We've corrected it slightly with Parasite, but let's correct it all the way. So there you go. Those are my reactions to the Academy Awards. Overall, it was a good night, good results, good wins, some disappointing wins, and some spectacular wins. I'm very excited for next year. What's great now is that we get to go forward into a year. All the movies are going to drop. Normally with the Academy Awards, they're movies that I'm not prepared for, I've never even heard of. Until I see a trailer, until there's word of mouth, until I stumble on it accidentally. It's going to be fun seeing these movies, seeing if they're going to be nominated for Academy Awards, going through the whole shebang over again. And I hope that I still have this podcast a year from now so we can do it all again. And I hope one day I can watch it on my TV properly. Maybe I'll even be in America one day so I can not go because I would not be invited. But maybe I can stand awkwardly out on Hollywood Boulevard and see if I can spy people with my binoculars before they politely and kindly ask me to leave. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. It has been a thrill having you here for my Academy Awards. I hope to be with you again soon for a movie review or a movie recommendation or even just a general chat like today was. Either this Thursday or next week, we'll see how we go. But keep those eyes peeled. Keep looking on YouTube. Subscribe so you get those notifications. Keep refreshing on Spotify. The whole shebang. I appreciate it so much. You cannot understand. It is a delight. And I'm quickly thinking now before I sign off, I just want to give a shout out to my friends Tara and Sean in England. I recently learned that you were listening to me all the way over there. That has thrilled me to no end. So of course, when I hear that someone is listening to me, I like to give them a little shout out. So I hope they're still listening so they can hear the shout out. If not, I feel good about it. And that's all that matters. Until next time, my friends, I love and appreciate every single one of you. You've been spliced in later. Adios, muchachos. I'll catch you next time.